woman's right at this point. It's where her money is going to be safest to me.
Well, and if you're right, it does kind of speak to what Charles just said, which is people get motivated by different issues. And yeah, some people get motivated on the money side. Some people get motivated on the immigration side.
Another one has, quite frankly, seen the light. So, Amber Rose, model, same person who helped lead the Slut Walk back in 2020, highly degenerate, highly woke, suddenly got a slight bit of logic in her mind, in her soul, and now she's voting for Donald Trump. Well, in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you guys why it is that it's not as cut and dry as I just made it. It's actually a little bit more nuanced than you think. And also one more thing, too. I'm also going to explain to you guys why it is that those who are not exactly really and truly in the woke cult, but kind of gravitate around the woke cult and kind of adopt the woke cult nonsense, are actually the easiest ones to shift over to the right, push come shove. So make sure you guys stick around for the full video. Really quick, before we dive into this and we talk about Amber Rose and these tweets and, of course, her meeting with Donald Trump and now apparently endorsing Donald Trump for president, I want to go ahead and say this really quick before we get started. Some of this is going to be coming from TMZ, and TMZ is very bad when it comes to copyright. So you're probably going to be seeing a lot of headers in this video. Now, before I tell you guys what actually happened and what I think really led Miss Rose to going over to the Trump train, it appears that some recent clips have been unearthed that kind of suggest that, kind of like Michael Rappaport to a certain degree, she was kind of already leaning in that direction. Not as much as him, actually more so in reality. It didn't make a lot of sense at first, but in the case of Rappaport, his issue, as you guys know, is obviously the war in the Middle East, what's going on between Israel and Hamas and the Gaza Strip. However, Miss Rose, on the other hand, it's a little bit different. Now, before we get there, I'm not here telling you guys that this woman has completely and totally been red-pilled. I'm not telling you that at all. As a matter of fact, I don't think that's actually what's going on here, regardless of how many times she claims that she watches Tucker Carlson, as you guys will see.
I think he's very smart. He's a journalist. I think he's extremely smart. I'm fucking smashing. Period.
Amber Rose, he is the devil. And I know...
The devil? For why?
This one?
Yeah. Why is he the devil?
He's just a bad person.
No, he's not.
Have you not? You watched the show. You're a fan.
Well, I follow him on Instagram. Did you see that I follow him on Instagram?
Yes, that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
But did you watch the show?
I watch everything Tucker Carlson.
Now, obviously, I'm not going to be endorsing degeneracy, but let's just go ahead and say, for the sake of argument, that we just go ahead and take her at her word that she probably was watching Tucker Carlson probably every night when he was on X right after Fox News let him go. The point is this right here. If you actually look into this situation, you actually find out that Miss Rose has actually been getting, let's just say, she's been getting up on things for the past few years. And of course, the main issue that she goes for, at least as far as this case here, is women's sports. I did say that at some point in time, the women would need to step up on this, but I need to give you guys some more background on Miss Rose before we go any further. She's a complete total degenerate, or she's got at least a complete total degenerate past. She's very, very much into the whole promiscuity thing. She's very much a feminist. You can go ahead and call her a radical feminist if you want to, but apparently she's pretty daggone base when it comes to the topic of women's sports, as you guys will see here in a second. It's not just that. Apparently she's also had a few more other positions that, quite frankly, were a little bit more reasonable, as you guys will see in this first segment.
Celebrity endorsements are rolling in for the presidential campaign season, and Donald Trump has gotten one that has really surprised a lot of people. Amber Rose, who was apparently at an event with the former president and first lady recently, she posted this photo with a very simple caption, Trump 2024. Well, it was a very simple caption that got a ton of comments and backlash from some of Amber's fans and supporters who have felt like she was always someone who stood for feminism, that she, look, here in Hollywood, Amber's famous for organizing an annual event called the Slut Walk. That is all about not shaming women for what they wear and their choices in society. But a lot of people feel like supporting Donald Trump flies in the face of that. And
she made a point about abortion.
yeah,
She made a point of talking about abortion.
Yeah. She said, blank y'all think Biden cares about black people? Sad. Do your research. I did. I'll always put women first. Y'all want biological men in women's sports? Trump supports the most reasonable compromise on abortion. Stop being brainwashed because we're people of color. Make your own decisions.
So Trump's got the most reasonable position when it comes to abortion. She did her actual research on this. She actually looked into the situation. I mean, we recently had Cardi B, of all people, say that she was not going to be voting for Joe Biden. And, of course, my position on that is this right here. I would rather her stay home and not vote because, of course, if she did come out and vote, a person who endorsed Bernie Sanders and is now not voting for Joe, I would prefer her just stay home because she would probably just come out and vote for Joe anyways. That right there is basically the point of this entire situation. But Miss Rose, on the other hand, actually coming out and saying that she would vote for the Donald is actually a pretty big thing when you actually think about it. However, it's not like people did not melt down over this. Let's go ahead and cue the meltdowns.
Trump's life hasn't completely turned into an episode of Dynasty yet, and Melania Trump is still alive. But this chit-chat is about how Amber Rose almost broke her neck, jumping from slut walk ambassador to Donald Trump supporter. Let's chit-chat. To be the bearer of bad news, but turns out your mama didn't tell you this, so here I go. You and your faves, y'all not in the same tax bracket, which means y'all probably don't vote the same. The beauty about America is we all get to vote for whoever we want to vote for, so I'm not really here to bash Amber Rose for who she's choosing to vote for, like so many of y'all are doing on Twitter. I mean, one thing about it is I'm that type of girl that don't like when you piss on my head and tell me it's raining. I don't like when you shit on a plate and try to tell me it's chocolate cake. And that's what Miss Amber Rose did when she decided she was going to double down. You can pause to read his January 2024 and his April 2024 stance on abortion. Now, Amber, if you just wanted to vote for that man, that's what you should have said. But if you could just point me to where you found his reasonable compromise on the stance of abortion, that'd be great.
That woman right there said that she was not going to attack her and then proceeded to then attack her. I had to actually edit that down because of the language in this video, because obviously some of these videos had some extremely gory language that I'm not allowed to, let's just say, throw up here on this particular platform. Now, there is something that I did mention at the very beginning of this video that I am going to be explaining towards the end of the video, which I think, as you guys are about to see here in a second, leads me to believe that somebody on the much, much further left pipeline, much, much more further left side of the aisle, especially when they first get exposed to politics, has a much, much more easier path to the right. It sounds very, very weird, but we will get to that here in a second. But there's also one more meltdown, which I have no idea why this guy was doing so, but let me play this one.
Stop listening to celebrities. They ain't shit. They're not us, and we're not them. They live in a different tax bracket than we do. And the real reason why celebrities like Cardi B and Amber Rose and all these other people coming out in support of Donald Trump are saying they're not going to vote or trying to encourage other people not to vote is because the mere fact that the Trump tax code ends in 2025. I understand what's going on. Okay? Cardi B, all that bullshit talking about, oh, New York, this. Your ass don't even live in fucking New York. Her ass live in Atlanta or her ass live in California. I don't know where the fuck that hoe is. I just know she ain't in the studio. Amber Rose, the only poll that I will follow her ass to is the strip club because I believe in sexual agency, but I ain't taking no fucking civic advice from no damn Amber Rose. It's interesting enough she says she's a woman's girl or this, that, and the other, and she believes in women's rights, but yet she gonna vote that she believes in women's reproductive rights, but his ass was the one who put the Supreme Court that took away women's reproductive rights. He said that he is, reasonable when it comes to abortion, but how is it reasonable to invoke a federal national abortion ban? You please.
The former president, Donald Trump, never actually okayed a national abortion ban. He actually didn't. The person who was okay with the national abortion ban was Lindsey Graham, and he did that to sabotage the Republican Party from potentially gaining some additional seats. It led to a lot more single women coming out during the 2022 midterms. However, if you actually look into the numbers, the GOP actually did better with women. And what they did better with was actually married women and suburban women, which is, of course, something that the former president is going to need to obviously get over this election cycle. Also, something else, too, while the 2022 midterm election was not a great night for Republicans, they just barely got the House back and they lost the Senate seat. Very, very strangely, they somehow or another found a way to win the national popular vote. Not by a lot, but they actually found a way to do so. But let's go ahead and get back to this. Before we watch the rest of this report, I want to go ahead and say this right now. There was another clip that was leaked of Miss Rose. Another clip that was actually leaked. I found this right here to probably be the moment where a little light bulb went off in her head about the side that she was on. Let's watch this.
Stop being so sensitive, because you and I are very cool. So for you to do
but
that,
it's not about being sensitive.
But you are being sensitive.
No, but if you're not
black,
a mixed
you're not white though. You're black.
My father is white though.
Okay, but to me, your mother's.
But that's not
black.
about you. It's about me.
It is about me when I feel like saying what the fuck I want to say. You can't check me on that. And if you go and check me, then check me.
Okay, I checked you. I'm checking you now.
But you're not, because I don't give a fuck about how you feel.
Well, I don't give a fuck either then, because I can say the same thing about you.
I don't consider you a white person. So that's the thing.
But it's not about what you consider. That's the whole point.
You mix like me. You mix like, you know what's your problem? Your problem is that you really want to be a white girl.
Hey, Miss Rose is mixed. Half white, half black. It's something that, quite frankly, you have to, how do I say this? You have to walk a fine line with when you talk about the topic of race, because if you've ever been around somebody who's mixed, like say somebody who's maybe half Hispanic, half Mexican, half white, or maybe half black, half white, it's something that a lot of people oftentimes love to use against other people, especially people who are mixed. They like to call them a half-breed, stuff like that there. But of course, once you start doing this, especially when it's let's just say people on your own side of the aisle, because let's just go ahead and be honest, everybody in that little classroom there is definitely on the left and voting for Joe Biden, or they did vote for him in 2020. When you start going racial and you start saying stuff like you're not really black, or you need to proclaim your blackness ahead of your whiteness, or your whiteness ahead of your blackness, that right there is when you start to actually lose people. Now, here's the thing. I'm playing this again, the B-roll footage for you guys right now. I want you to actually pay very close attention to Miss Rose's facial expression, because I think this right here is the biggest cue to let you guys know that there was obviously a massive wake-up call here. Now, if I didn't say this right here before, Miss Rose has got a bit of a degenerate past. She dated Kanye West. She's obviously done the Slut walk from back in 2020. She was the organizer of it. Yeah, this right here is not the type of person that you would normally want your kids to look up to or have as a role model, but still at the same time, though, if this person can have a wake-up moment and possibly change things around in their life, at least as far as maybe being on the right side of history and the right side of aisle, then maybe that is a good sign for the country going forward. But we'll talk more about that after we look at the rest of the news report, which TMZ had, which, of course, I got to put headers over, mostly because of, guess what, copyright. But let's look at some more.
There are a lot of people of color who are moving over to the Trump side for various reasons. A lot of Hispanic people are actually against Biden's immigration policies, and that was a driving force in increasing Trump's popularity there. So that's it is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I get confused sometimes because you never hear anyone say, oh, white people should vote for and then plug in the candidate. For some reason, the Hispanic vote and the black vote, they're often talked about as if it's like a monolithic group that has to vote
but also
one
because
way.
it can make a big difference in the election.
Oh no, right. and make no mistake about it, and I actually looked up the numbers. So at this time in 2020, Biden had 81% of support amongst the black voters, and Trump had 9%. That's now at 22% for Trump and 69% for Biden. If that holds, Donald Trump is going to be president of the United States. Make no mistake about that. Joe Biden cannot win with these numbers. It can't happen.
Well, I mean, people are obviously talking
now that right there was about a minute and 23 seconds total. And of course, in that minute and 23 seconds, you obviously saw a guy who was baffled about what's actually going on with the current demographic change in politics, okay? Let me go ahead and say this first before we go any further. Obviously, the TMZ crew is not officially up to date on the real issues. The thing you got to understand is this right here. These people who vote, these people who care about this stuff, they are, in fact, real people. And of course, the main, let's just say the main stereotype that you would get for somebody who's like the white conservative would be the older white male, the single white male, the married. That type of thing right there is normally a stereotype that we get kind of labeled with. The exact same way that a lot of black voters have just been labeled with, obviously very, very liberal, when not really the case. Most black people actually tend to be socially moderate to socially conservative, and they typically tend to be a little bit more economically moderate to economically liberal. The reason why is because the black community itself is normally poorer. However, under this current administration, what's happening now is that the black community is being forced to live more and more and more on quote unquote handouts that people love to label them as basically lazy and freeloading, which of course they're not. Of course, they have a high. Let me say this real quick before I go any further. The whole notion that there are a lot of black people on welfare is actually not exactly what we call an accurate notion. It really and truly is not. The percentage of black people on welfare is much, much higher than other races, but that right there is because of the fact the black population itself is only right around 12% of the population. I know a lot of black people who are working 2 and 3 jobs, and quite frankly, they're kind of black people right now with the current economy. So yes, there's a shift going on mostly for economical reasons. And of course, in my video that I talked about where Joe Biden had a history of being a racist, a sleaze, and of course a liar, you guys obviously saw some of the movement there as well. If you watched that video, I'll try to link it in the description box. When it comes to Hispanics, on the other hand, especially when it comes to this border crisis and what's going on with the Biden administration just letting in more and more people, a lot of Hispanics are pissed off because, well, they've been waiting in line for a very long time to get citizenship. And like I said before, I told you guys on multiple occasions, I used to be a little bit more lenient on the topic of immigration. But of course, I've also pivoted and said we need a daggone wall. I was a little bit more lenient on that back in 2016. I voted for Trump anyways. But over time, I did in fact realize that a wall was actually needed. And of course, if you guys look through my content, you will see that I've been very, very much a hawk over the past couple of years on the topic of immigration and the border crisis. The thing that you have to understand about Hispanics, especially those who are Mexican, because, of course, he mentioned the fact that these people have been grouped into a monolith of voters. Even Joe Biden talked about this before, basically said that unlike the black community, Hispanics were not a monolithic community at all. I'll link the clip in the description box. I couldn't find online, but it's just a much longer clip to actually try to put into this. But the thing is this right here. Hispanics are not a monolith. They're not a monolith at all. You see, you got to understand something right quick, especially about Mexican Americans and those who've been voting Democrat for a very long time. A lot of them actually had to come in the way that you would probably think that they came in. And of course, they had to wait in line in immigration. When you see a bunch of other Hispanics coming across the border and basically being given a green card, basically being given benefits that these other Hispanics did not get, and of course, this also includes free Medicare, healthcare, stuff like that there, it's probably going to piss some Hispanics off. Not to mention the whole purpose behind the border crisis is to create a great brand new slave class. Let's just go ahead and be honest, that works at a much, much cheaper wage. Well, the ones that are coming in very, very well could actually depress a lot of the wages that a lot of these Hispanics who are actual citizens of the U.S., it could actually depress their wages too. Maybe those right there are the real reasons why it is that Hispanics are not exactly okay with what's actually going on with the southern border. But let's continue.
I want to get back to the voting block issue. That's really nothing new. That Jews used to be, tried and true Democrats. Right. Gays the same way. And I just think that society has become so much more homogenized where it's not a clear thing on any one side where there's predictability in terms of how people are going to vote. I don't know. I mean, what's interesting about
it can't be monolithic because not everybody has the same issue that's most important to them.
That's right.
Right, and that's what you're going to vote.
That's absolutely true.
What issues are most important to you?
You know what's really interesting? Amber Rose has an ally when it comes to supporting Trump, which is a guy that she dated.
Yes. Assuming that Kanye West is still a Donald Trump supporter. I think that's probably fair to assume.
Interesting. By the way, closing arguments will happen a week from today in the Hush Money trial.
I think Amber Rose is just an opportunist. I feel like she's going to go wherever her money is going to be safe. And like they also stated, she did date Kanye.
Once again, these people are absolutely clueless. You've got the woman at the very, very end saying that she obviously did it for money, even though not that many conservatives follow her. Of course, money does talk, and people right now are absolutely broke and don't really have the money they have. Thanks to Joe Biden, of course, that inflation, of course, they're making inflation a lot worse. But going back to that topic of Jewish Americans being diehard Democrats, did you think that maybe Joe Biden not having a strong enough stance on when it comes to Jewish Americans, especially given the situation between Israel and Gaza, a much more pro-Israel stance, did you think that that right there could also be the reason why it is that a lot of Jewish Americans are switching their vote? Oh, wait, that's what I forgot to mention. This right here is a brand new report. Arab and Muslim groups in Michigan, throughout the United States, are also meeting with Donald Trump and saying that they're going to be voting for him this cycle. So Biden found a way to lose a high portion of black voters, a high portion of Hispanic voters, and he also found a way to lose traditionally Democrat voters that happen to be, well, the Jews, and still found a way to lose Muslims. Wow. However, before I conclude this video, before I end this video, I did tell you guys at the very beginning that I was going to kind of explain why it was that it's easier for somebody who's on the radical left pipeline to shift over to the right. So hear me out just for a second. Miss Rose is actually known to be very, very much a wokester, okay? There are a lot of people here on this platform. One person in particular is Misha Petrov. She does a lot of videos on the wokesters, and of course, she used to be very, very much in that. For the most part, the social justice warrior woke crowd, outside the true believers, which is only about a third of that actual base of support, the vast majority of them are kind of on it because it's a grift. It's a very, very easy grift. And of course, a lot of people think, well, of course, maybe it was the right thing to do at the time. So I'm going to become a radical feminist, or I'm going to become a social justice warrior, or I'm going to become this, become that, or just become racist for a daggone day or whatever, or become stupid for an absolute day, or even a period of months. A lot of times these people will ride along that grift, and of course, after a while of riding on that grift, they begin to see what that grift really and truly is about and what the true believers really truly believe. So they kind of just mute themselves and walk the hell away. However, like in the case of Miss Rose, she'd been watching Tucker Carlson for a while. If you take her at her word, by the way, I think there was actually a video that came out a while back, and content creators actually posted the fact that she said that she was an avid Tucker Carlson viewer. It wasn't as hard for her to actually get, how do I say, red-pilled on the issue. The truth be told is that the most of the woke-toids out there are actually just riding the grift and just joining in with the crowd. But when a lot of these people see that the crowd is as crazy and as loony as they thought they weren't, and what I mean by weren't is because these people didn't think they were really and truly that crazy or that psycho, it leaves them the opportunity to be able to walk away from said cult. They were never actually members. They were just kind of like associates or whatever. They just walk away from it. And then they start looking at other things. One of the biggest problems that a lot of the radical far leftists have is that they don't actually get exposed to conservative commentary, conservative content, or even moderate content. It goes back to Jonathan Haidt's book, The Righteous Mind, which he hit it out of the park when he basically said that conservatives and moderates understand liberals, but liberals do not understand conservative moderates. And by liberals, I mean leftoids. The very, very, very hardcore leftist types, you know, those people there. I know that on this channel, I oftentimes get myself in trouble by not distinguishing classical liberals from far left radicals, okay? I oftentimes get in trouble with that, so I want to make that distinguishment now. Chances are Miss Rose was probably just a liberal who had a very, very big-time degenerate portion of a degenerate piece to her life, which, of course, as I said before, she did the slut walk back in 2020, organized it and everything, the feminist arc, the woke arc, all that type of crap there. But, of course, when the issue got to women's sports, and she actually got her eyes opened up on a lot of things, of course, listening to Tucker Carlson for a while, I guess it wouldn't be that uncommon for her to say, you know what, maybe people who are like him are not exactly wrong. Maybe we should be listening to this. Maybe aborting a child at the moment of birth is wrong. Maybe, I don't know, hardcore amounts of sex is actually wrong, completely and totally too degenerate. Maybe biological men playing in women's sports is kind of a problem. That's probably what it was, because a lot of these woke radical types that they claim to be aren't really and truly in the crowd. They're just around the crowd riding the grift. It's easier for those types to actually slide on over to the right side of the aisle and be on the right side of history. I'm just simply throwing that out there, but we'll do more videos on that in the future. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section. This may be the only video for Thursday. I'm kind of behind, but I think I'm just going to release those 3 big ones over the weekend. So make sure you guys stick around for those. I'll leave a link to Gearshy33 in the comment section as well. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.